The sky over Seoul burned with colors Earth had never seen before. Purple and gold lights danced across the clouds as the massive ships descended. Captain Dae Kang stood on the observation deck of the Earth Defense Headquarters, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien vessels approach. They were beautiful, he had to admit, like floating crystals carved from starlight itself. "They're here to help us," said Ambassador Mira Choi, standing beside him. Her voice carried excitement that Dae did not share. "This is the greatest moment in human history." Dae said nothing. He had spent 30 years in the military, and he knew one thing for certain. Nobody gave gifts without expecting something in return. But his opinion didn't matter today. The world leaders had already made their decision. They would welcome the Velkari with open arms. The aliens called themselves the Velkari Empire. They had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years, they said. They had watched humanity struggle and suffer. And now they wanted to help. They came with medicine, technology, and knowledge. All they asked was friendship. Dr. Hana Yoon stood in the medical research facility 3 weeks later, staring at the device the Velkari had given them. It was small, no bigger than her hand. But it could cure cancer. It could repair damaged organs. It could stop aging itself. The Velkari had given humanity 5 of these devices, and already thousands of people had been healed. "It's incredible," her assistant said, watching the machine work on a patient with late-stage disease. 6 months ago, this man was dying. Now look at him. Hana nodded, but something bothered her. She had studied the device for weeks, trying to understand how it worked. The Velkari had explained it in simple terms, something about quantum cellular reconstruction. But when she looked deeper, the technology made no sense. It was as if they had given humanity the cure without explaining the science behind it, like giving a child a loaded gun without teaching them what bullets were. "Have you noticed," Hana said carefully, "that they never really answer our questions? We ask how it works, and they smile and say it's too complex for us to understand." Her assistant shrugged. "Maybe it is. They're 10,000 years ahead of us." But Hana couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The formal ceremony took place in Geneva. Every major world leader attended. Dae Kang was there too, standing in his dress uniform, watching as Ambassador Mira Choi signed the partnership agreement with the Velkari representative. The alien was tall, nearly 7 feet, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow from within. It wore robes that shifted colors, like oil on water. When it spoke, its voice was melodious, almost hypnotic. "We are honored to guide humanity toward its full potential," the Velkari said. "In exchange for our medicine and knowledge, we ask only for access to your genetic database and permission to establish research stations on your world. We wish to study your unique biology. Humans are fascinating creatures, and we have much to learn from you." The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. Mira Choi smiled and shook the alien's hand. Dae Kang felt his stomach turn. Access to humanity's genetic database meant access to the DNA records of every person on Earth. Medical histories, family trees, genetic markers, everything. And research stations in remote areas, away from watching eyes. After the ceremony, Dae approached Mira Choi. "Ambassador, did we verify their story? Did we confirm they are who they say they are?" Mira looked at him with tired eyes. "Captain Kang, they cured cancer. They gave us technology that will save millions of lives. What more proof do we need? Proof that they're not lying about their intentions." "You're being paranoid," Mira said softly. "I know you've seen combat. I know you're trained to be suspicious. But sometimes, Dae, good things just happen. Sometimes people or aliens just want to help." Dae wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that the universe contained beings who helped others without hidden motives. But his instincts screamed warnings that no one wanted to hear. Within 6 months, the Velkari had established 12 research stations around the world. They chose remote locations. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, in the mountains of Tibet, in the empty deserts of Australia, They said they wanted quiet places to conduct their studies without disturbing human civilization. Humanity celebrated. Disease rates plummeted. The Velkari shared agricultural technology that ended hunger in dozens of countries. They provided clean energy solutions that reversed climate change. Everyone called it the Golden Age. Everyone except Day Kang. He had retired from active duty but still maintained contacts in military intelligence. He started asking questions. Why did the Velkari need 12 research stations? What were they studying that required such secrecy? Why wouldn't they let humans visit these facilities? One night, Hana Yun called him. Her voice shook. Captain Kang, I need to show you something. They met in her laboratory after midnight. Hana pulled up data on her screen, her hands trembling as she typed. I've been analyzing Velkari biology from the samples they gave us. Look at this. Day studied the genetic sequences on the screen. He was no scientist, but even he could see the similarities. This looks almost human. Exactly, Hana whispered. Their DNA is compatible with ours. Not similar compatible. Do you understand what that means? In all of evolutionary biology, that should be impossible. We evolved on different worlds, in different solar systems. Our genetic code should be completely alien to each other. Unless they engineered this compatibility deliberately, Hana said. Unless they've been preparing for this for a very long time. Day felt cold understanding wash over him. They didn't come here to help us. No, Hana agreed. I don't think they did. And I think their research stations are doing something terrible. But I can't prove it. Not yet. Day looked at the data, his mind racing. The Velkari had asked for genetic information. They had built isolated research facilities. They had made their biology compatible with humans. Everything pointed to a plan. But what kind of plan? We need evidence, he said finally. Real evidence. Something that will make people listen. Hana nodded. I know someone who might help. A journalist named Wu Lim. He's been investigating disappearances near the Velkari stations. Disappearances? People going missing. Small numbers, mostly from poor communities. The kind of disappearances that don't make the news. Day closed his eyes. He had hoped he was wrong. He had hoped his paranoia was just the habits of an old soldier. But now he knew the truth. The Velkari hadn't come to save humanity. They had come to use it. And the world was too grateful, too blinded by gifts and cures, to see the trap closing around them. Contact this journalist, Day said. We need to know what's happening in those research stations. And Hana, be careful. If the Velkari discover we're investigating them, I know, she said quietly. But we have to try. Someone has to. Outside, the night sky sparkled with Velkari ships orbiting Earth. They looked like stars. Beautiful and distant. But Day knew better now. They weren't stars. They were predators, circling their prey, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. 2 years had passed since the Velkari arrived. Earth had changed in ways both wonderful and terrifying. Cities gleamed with alien technology. People lived longer, healthier lives. But Lieutenant Jin Park sat in a dark room beneath Seoul, listening to sounds that made his blood run cold. The encrypted Velkari transmission played through his headphones. He had intercepted it 3 days ago, using equipment he wasn't supposed to have. The official translators said it was routine communication about research progress. But Jin had studied alien languages for 5 years. And something didn't match. He played it again, this time using translation software he had built himself. The words that emerged made him stop breathing. Harvest yields exceed expectations. Human specimens from Sector 7 show optimal genetic markers. Recommend increasing collection rate while indigenous authorities remain cooperative. The breeding stock is plentiful and unaware. Jin pulled off his headphones with shaking hands. Breeding stock. Specimens. Harvest. These weren't words used by scientists helping humanity. These were words used by farmers discussing livestock. He needed help. He needed someone who understood Valkyrie biology better than he did. He thought of Dr. Hana Yoon, the geneticist who had published several papers questioning Valkyrie technology. She had been careful, diplomatic in her criticism, but Jin recognized a fellow skeptic. Meanwhile, across the city, journalist Wu Lim sat in a cheap apartment, surrounded by photographs and documents. He had been tracking disappearances for 18 months. The pattern was clear once you knew to look for it. Small villages near Valkyrie research stations reported missing people. Never large numbers, 3 here, 5 there. Always the poor, the homeless, the migrants who wouldn't be missed. Official reports blamed natural causes, animal attacks, accidents. But Wu had interviewed families. He had seen the fear in their eyes. They came at night, one woman told him, clutching a photograph of her missing son. We heard sounds, like music almost. My boy walked outside like he was dreaming. We tried to stop him, but he didn't hear us. He just walked toward the lights. That was 3 months ago. Wu had documented 47 similar cases, 47 people who walked toward Valkyrie facilities and never returned. The authorities refused to investigate. They said he was spreading panic, making up stories to sell papers. But Wu knew the truth. Something was very wrong. When Jin Park contacted Hana Yoon through encrypted channels, she didn't hesitate. She had been waiting for someone else to see what she saw. They met at an old warehouse, along with Wu Lim, who Jin had found through his intelligence network. I need to get inside one of their facilities, Hana said, after they shared their information. Everything we have is circumstantial. We need proof. That's suicide, Wu said. Those places have security that makes military bases look easy. I have access codes, Jin admitted. From my work in intelligence. They're meant for emergencies. For military personnel only. If anyone finds out, I use them. We all risk everything if we do this, Hana said. But if we're right, if the Valkyrie are really doing what we think they're doing, then we have to try. They chose the facility in Mongolia. It was remote, surrounded by empty grasslands, far from curious eyes. Jin used his codes to disable the perimeter sensors for exactly 12 minutes. That was all the time Hana would have. She went alone. Wu stayed behind to document everything. Jin monitored security channels, ready to warn her if anything went wrong. Hana climbed the fence and ran across the compound. The buildings looked beautiful, like everything the Valkyrie made. Smooth, white walls that seemed to glow in the moonlight. She found a ventilation duct and crawled inside, following her map of the facility. The duct led her to a laboratory. She dropped down quietly, landing on smooth floor. The room was dark except for the blue glow of alien technology. And then she saw them. Tanks lined the walls. Inside each tank floated a human body. They were alive but unconscious, suspended in clear liquid. Tubes ran from their bodies to machines that hummed softly. Hana recognized some of them from Wu's photographs. The missing people. But it was worse than she imagined. The machines weren't just studying these people. They were harvesting from them genetic material, she realized. They were extracting specific cells, specific DNA sequences, processing them into something else. She found a computer terminal and plugged in her device, downloading everything she could. Files in Valkyrie language filled her screen. Her translation program worked frantically, converting the alien text. What she read made her want to scream. The Valkyrie weren't here to help humanity. They were dying. Their species suffered from genetic degradation, a disease that killed them slowly over centuries. They had searched the galaxy for a cure and found it on Earth. Human DNA contained something unique, something that could repair Valkyrie genetic code, but the process required living human tissue. Lots of it. The medicine they had given Earth wasn't a gift, it was quality control. Make humans healthier. And their genetic material became more valuable. The genetic database let the Valkyrie identify which humans had the best DNA for harvesting. This facility processed 50 humans per month. There were 12 facilities, 600 people every month, taken from their homes, used as raw materials for Velkari medicine, then disposed of. And this was just the beginning. The files showed plans to expand. Within 5 years, they wanted to harvest 10,000 humans monthly. Earth wasn't being helped. Earth was being farmed. Hana copied everything and ran. She made it out with 30 seconds to spare before security reset. Jin picked her up 3 miles away. She was crying and couldn't stop. "We have to tell everyone," Wu said after seeing the files. "We have to show the world what they're doing. No one will believe us," Jin said bitterly. "The Velkari cured cancer. They saved millions of lives. People love them. We show them this, and they'll say we're liars, conspiracy theorists." "Some will believe," Hana insisted. "We just need to reach them." But it was more complicated than that. When they tried to release the information, they discovered something worse. Some Earth governments knew. Not everyone, but enough. High-ranking officials had been told about the harvesting and agreed to keep it secret. The Velkari had made them a deal. Allow controlled harvesting of unwanted populations, criminals, homeless, illegal migrants, and receive advanced technology. The officials convinced themselves they were making a difficult but necessary choice. Sacrifice the few to save the many. Wu found the communications between Earth leaders and Velkari commanders. The betrayal was documented in cold, bureaucratic language. Quotas agreed upon. Populations selected for processing. Compensation provided in the form of life extension technology for the officials themselves. "They sold us," Wu whispered, staring at the files. "Our own leaders sold their own people." Jin wanted to give up. The conspiracy went too deep. The Velkari had warships in orbit. Earth's militaries depended on Velkari technology. Any resistance would be crushed. But then Hana thought of Captain Day Kang, the old soldier who had been suspicious from the start. If anyone would know what to do, it was him. They found Day living quietly outside Seoul. He listened to everything they told him, watched all the evidence they had gathered. His face remained calm, but his eyes burned with rage. "How many people know about this?" he asked finally. "Just us," Jin said, "and whoever the Velkari told. We couldn't risk spreading it further." "Good," Day said, "because now we need to do something very difficult. We need to build a resistance without anyone knowing. Not the Velkari. Not the compromised governments. Not even the general public. Can you do that?" "We're not soldiers," Wu protested. "No," Day agreed. "But you're going to become something better. You're going to become the people who save humanity. Are you ready?" They looked at each other. They thought of the people floating in tanks, thought of the thousands more who would be taken. They thought of Earth becoming a farm, humanity reduced to livestock for alien consumption. "Yes," Hana said. "We're ready." Day smiled. And it was not a kind smile. "Then let's begin. The Velkari think we're grateful. Obedient animals. Let's show them what happens when animals fight back." Day Kang had been a soldier long enough to know that wars weren't won with anger. They were won with planning, patience, and finding the enemy's weakness. For 6 months, he built his resistance in silence. He started with people he trusted, old military friends who had retired, soldiers who remembered what duty meant. He found them one by one, spoke to them privately, showed them the evidence. Many refused to believe it at first. But the proof was undeniable. "We can't fight them directly," Day told his inner circle. "They have ships that could destroy our cities in minutes. We need to be smarter." Rena Baek was the first specialist they recruited. She was 26 years old and could hack any system on Earth. When Jin Park showed her the Velkari communications, she studied them for 3 days without sleeping. "Their security is good," she admitted, "but it's designed to stop Velkari threats. They didn't expect humans to understand their systems well enough to break them. I can get in. I can plant viruses in their networks. But I need time." "How much time?" Day asked. 6 months, maybe more. "And I need access to one of their facilities." "We can do that," Jin said quietly. Tae-sung joined them next. He had been a special forces operative before the Valkyrie came. He left the military when his commanders ordered him to ignore reports of missing civilians near Valkyrie stations. Now he led a small team of former soldiers who felt the same way. "We've been watching the facilities," Tae told them. "They move people in trucks at night. No windows, heavy security. But we tracked one shipment. We know their routes. Can you intercept them?" Tae asked. "Yes, but if we do, the Valkyrie will know someone is fighting back." "Good," Tae said. "Let them know. Let them realize humans aren't as obedient as they thought." The first rescue happened on a cold night in October. Tae and his team waited on a mountain road in Tibet. When the Valkyrie transport came, they struck fast. Explosives disabled the vehicle. Armed humans in masks pulled the drivers out. Inside the truck, they found 12 people, unconscious and drugged. The team loaded them into their own vehicles and vanished before Valkyrie reinforcements arrived. Wu Lim interviewed the rescued people after they recovered. Their stories confirmed everything. They remembered being taken from their homes by strange music that made them walk without thinking. They remembered being examined, tested, and prepared for processing. They would have died in those tanks if Tae's team hadn't saved them. Wu published their stories online using hidden networks. The mainstream media ignored it. But people on the internet started asking questions. Why were the Valkyrie so interested in remote areas? Why wouldn't they allow inspections of their facilities? Why did people keep disappearing? The Valkyrie responded with calm assurances. The missing people were victims of accidents, they said. Wild animals, natural disasters. Tragic but unrelated to Valkyrie presence. And as for the rescued people's claims, they were obviously suffering from trauma and confusion. Most people believed the Valkyrie, but some didn't. And those people started contacting Wu Lim, offering help, asking what they could do. The resistance grew. Meanwhile, Hana worked on understanding the Valkyrie weakness. She studied their biology obsessively, searching for anything that could be exploited. Jin provided her with samples stolen from Valkyrie facilities. Rena hacked into their medical databases, and then Hana found it. They're dependent on human genetic material, she explained to Day and the others. Not just for medicine, for survival. Their immune systems are collapsing. The genetic degradation is accelerating. Without regular treatments using human DNA, their elite will die within 5 years. So if we cut off their supply, Jin began. They become desperate, Hana finished. But there's more. I can create a targeted virus, something that uses modified human DNA as a carrier. It would be harmless to humans but lethal to Valkyrie. Their genetic compatibility is their greatest strength, but it's also their fatal weakness. Day looked at her for a long moment. That's genocide. They're committing genocide against us, Hana said quietly. Slowly, secretly. But that's what it is. They plan to harvest millions of humans. We're not people to them. We're resources. I'm offering us a way to fight back. Do it, Day said, but we save it as a last option. First, we try to expose them, to turn the world against them. If that fails, then we use your weapon. But exposure was harder than they expected. The Valkyrie had spent 2 years building goodwill. They had cured diseases, fed the hungry, saved countless lives. People didn't want to believe their saviors were monsters. When Wu tried to publish his complete investigation, newspapers refused it. Social media platforms labeled it misinformation. Government agencies threatened him with arrest for spreading panic. That's when Rena proposed her solution. We can't rely on traditional media, she said. But I can hack into every system on Earth, simultaneously. Television, internet, radio, everything. We broadcast the truth everywhere at once. Show them the footage from inside the facilities. The Valkyrie communications. The confessions from rescued people. Make it impossible to ignore. The Valkyrie will know it's an attack, Jin warned. They'll respond. Let them, Day said. By the time they react, the truth will already be out. And once people know, once they understand what's been done to them, the Valkyrie won't be able to control the response. They planned carefully. Rena spent months building her virus, a digital weapon that would spread through every connected device on Earth. Wu prepared the documentary, cutting together footage and evidence into a presentation that would leave no doubt. Tay positioned his teams to rescue more people, to have fresh proof ready when the revelation came. And Day reached out secretly to sympathetic military officers. Not everyone in Earth's armed forces had sold out. Many were loyal soldiers who would be horrified to learn the truth. He found them carefully, recruited them quietly, built a shadow army within the official military structure. Admiral Hyunjong was the biggest recruit. He commanded the Pacific Defense Fleet and had always been suspicious of Velkari technology. When Day showed him the evidence, Hyun didn't hesitate. "I have 200 ships under my command," Hyun said. "And I know other admirals who feel the same way. The Velkari believe we're dependent on their technology, but we've been reverse engineering everything they give us. We have weapons they don't know about. If it comes to war, we won't be helpless." "It will come to war," Day said. "The moment we expose them, they'll show their true nature. They'll threaten us, try to force submission. That's when we need to be ready." The date was set. 3 weeks to prepare. Rena finalized her broadcast virus. Hana worked on the biological weapon in secret laboratories, creating something that terrified her even as she perfected it. Tay's teams trained for the chaos that would follow, and Day coordinated everything, preparing for the moment when humanity would finally fight back. But doubt crept in during quiet moments. They were planning to change everything. Billions of people lived better lives because of Velkari technology. Children who would have died now lived. Diseases had been eliminated. Was it right to risk all of that? Hana saw Day sitting alone one night, staring at old photographs. "Second thoughts?" she asked. "Always," he admitted. "I keep thinking about the people the Velkari saved, the millions who are alive because of their medicine. If we do this, some of those people might die when the technology goes away. And how many will die if we don't?" Hana asked. The Velkari plan to harvest 10,000 people per month within 5 years. That's over 500,000 per year. Over time, millions. And they'll never stop. Day. To them, we're not alive. We're just resources. Would you rather live as healthy slaves or fight for freedom? Day looked at her. "When you say it like that, it sounds simple." "It is simple," Hana said. "The Velkari gave us a choice without realizing it. They cured our diseases so we would be better livestock. But healthy humans are also stronger humans. Better able to fight. They made us more valuable. But they also made us more dangerous. Now we show them their mistake." 3 weeks, Day said. "Then everything changes." "Yes," Hana agreed. "Then we see if humans deserve to be called the strongest species, or if we're just clever animals who got lucky." Day smiled grimly. "We're about to find out." The broadcast began at midnight, Greenwich Mean Time. Every screen on Earth suddenly showed the same image. Footage from inside a Velkari harvesting facility. People floating in tanks, machines extracting genetic material, bodies being disposed of. Rena Bake sat in her command center, watching her virus spread across global networks. Television stations, internet providers, government systems, all of them simultaneously broadcasting the truth. The Velkari tried to shut it down, but she had designed the virus too well. It replicated faster than they could stop it. Wu Lim's documentary played for 2 hours. He showed everything. The intercepted communications. The rescued victims telling their stories. The evidence of government betrayal. The Velkari plans to expand their harvesting operations. All of it presented calmly, factually, undeniably. The world watched in horror. Within hours, riots broke out in major cities. People surrounded Velkari facilities, demanding answers. Governments that had cooperated with the aliens found themselves under siege from their own citizens. Officials who had known about the harvesting were dragged from their homes by angry crowds. The Velkari response was swift and terrifying. Their warships moved into attack positions over major cities. A Velkari commander appeared on every screen, his glowing eyes cold and merciless. "Humans of Earth," he said, "you have made a grave mistake. Yes, we have been harvesting your kind for genetic material. You should be honored. Your species serves a higher purpose, extending the lives of your superiors. Your resistance is foolish. Submit now, and we will be merciful. Continue this rebellion, and we will demonstrate why the Velkari Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Then he showed what mercy meant. A Velkari warship fired on a protest in Mumbai. The weapon turned 3 city blocks into ash in seconds. 10,000 people died instantly. That is our mercy, the commander said. Obey, or we will reduce your cities to dust. You have 1 day to surrender completely. The world held its breath. Fear gripped billions. The Velkari had shown they were willing to destroy humanity rather than lose their harvesting operation. Many wanted to surrender, to go back to the comfortable lie where aliens were benevolent and only the unlucky disappeared. But Dai Kang had been waiting for this moment. Admiral Hyun Jang issued orders to the secret resistance within Earth's military. Ships that had been quietly upgraded with stolen and reverse-engineered technology moved into position. Weapons that the Velkari didn't know existed powered up, and across the globe, soldiers who had been preparing for this moment picked up their arms. We expected this, Dai told his team. The Velkari believe we're helpless. They think their threats will make us submit. They're wrong. Dr. Nari Song worked in a secret laboratory deep underground. She was a geneticist like Hana, recruited months earlier to help develop the biological weapon. Now she prepared the final version. A virus that would be humanity's ultimate revenge. It's ready, Nari told Dai over encrypted communications. Once released, it will spread through any Velkari population within hours. Their genetic compatibility with humans means they'll absorb it automatically through the DNA they've been harvesting. It will kill them slowly, painfully. But Dai, are you sure? This is genocide, real genocide. They fired on Mumbai, Dai said quietly. They've been harvesting us for 2 years. They'll kill all of us before they give up their immortality treatments. Yes, Nari. I'm sure. The plan was risky and desperate. Jia Quan, one of the best pilots in the resistance, would lead a team infiltrating the Velkari mothership in orbit. They would use captured Velkari transport ships to get close, pretending to be carrying harvested genetic material. Once inside, they would release the virus and destroy the quarantine systems, ensuring it spread throughout the Velkari fleet. It's a suicide mission, someone pointed out during the briefing. Maybe, Jia said calmly. But if it works, we save Earth. That's worth dying for. 50 volunteers joined her. All of them understood they probably wouldn't return. They recorded messages for their families. They said their goodbyes. And then they prepared for the most important mission in human history. The attack began at dawn. Hyunjang's fleet struck first, targeting Velkari ships that threatened civilian populations. Earth's weapons were inferior, but they weren't helpless. Missiles armed with nuclear warheads and experimental energy weapons hit Velkari shields. The aliens were surprised but not worried. They had more ships, better technology, thousands of years of military experience, but they hadn't counted on human stubbornness. While the fleet battle raged, Tae Sung led ground teams in coordinated attacks on every Velkari facility on Earth. They couldn't destroy them, the facilities had too much defensive technology, but they could trap the Velkari inside, prevent them from escaping or calling for help. Hold them here, Tae ordered his troops. We need them contained when the virus is released. Can't let any escape back to their empire. The fighting was brutal. Velkari soldiers were individually stronger than humans, with better weapons and armor. But humans had numbers and desperation. For every human who fell, 3 more took their place. The Velkari had harvested people from these communities. Mothers fought for disappeared children, brothers for missing sisters. The rage was bottomless. High above, Jiaquan's team approached the mothership. Their captured transport broadcasted the correct identification codes. The Velkari let them dock, expecting another shipment of harvested material. The moment they were inside, Jia's team moved. They fought through corridors, heading for the central processing facility where harvested DNA was prepared for distribution. Valkyrie guards tried to stop them. But the humans had prepared for this. They wore armor designed to resist Valkyrie weapons. They moved with precision born from months of training. Half the team died reaching the facility. But they made it. Nari's virus was contained in a dozen small canisters. Gia and the survivors released them into the processing system. The virus spread into the genetic material being prepared, contaminating it. And then they destroyed the quarantine systems, ensuring the contaminated material would be distributed throughout the fleet before anyone realized what had happened. "It's done," Gia reported. "The virus is spreading. We're destroying the quarantine controls now. Get out of there," Day ordered from Earth. "You've done your part. Come home." "No escape ships available," Gia said calmly. "The Valkyrie locked them down when they realized we weren't a supply shipment. But that's okay. We knew this was one way. Tell Earth. Tell them we died free. Tell them we died fighting." The communication cut off as Valkyrie reinforcements overwhelmed the remaining humans. But their mission was complete. Within hours, Valkyrie soldiers throughout the fleet began showing symptoms. At first, they thought it was a standard illness. Nothing serious. But the virus spread faster than anything they had seen. It targeted their genetic repair systems, specifically, the same systems they had modified to accept human DNA. The irony was perfect. The Valkyrie had made themselves compatible with human genetics to harvest humanity. Now that compatibility killed them. The Valkyrie commander watched his crew die and understood what had happened. The humans had weaponized their own DNA. The very thing the Valkyrie came to harvest had become poison. He sent a desperate message to Earth. "Stop this. Please. We'll leave. We'll never return. Just give us the cure." Day Kang received the message while standing in the command center. Around him, reports came in of Valkyrie ships losing power as their crews died. The fleet that had threatened to destroy Earth was falling apart. He thought about the people harvested, the 10,000 who died in Mumbai, the millions the Valkyrie planned to take over the coming years. He thought about humanity being reduced to livestock, their children born only to be processed for alien medicine. "No," Day said simply. "You came to our world believing we should be grateful for the privilege of being harvested. You treated us as resources, not as people. You expected appreciation. We're giving you exactly what you deserve. We can give you technology," the Valkyrie commander begged. "Knowledge. Anything you want. We don't want gifts from monsters," Day replied. "We want you gone, and we're making sure you can never come back." The virus did its work efficiently. Within 3 days, 90% of the Valkyrie in Earth's system were dead. The few survivors fled, carrying the virus back to their empire. Nari had designed it to be contagious among Valkyrie populations. What happened on Earth would soon happen on their homeworld. The Valkyrie Empire, 10,000 years old, began its collapse, and humanity, barely united enough to fight back, stood bloodied but unbroken, looking up at stars that suddenly seemed less friendly but more honest. 3 weeks after the Valkyrie fleet fell silent, their surrender came. Not from the ships orbiting Earth. Those were graveyards now, filled with corpses, but from their homeworld, 15 light-years away. The transmission was desperate. A Valkyrie female, her blue skin pale with sickness, spoke to Earth with tears in her glowing eyes. "Please," she begged. "The virus has reached our homeworld. Millions are dying. Our children are dying. We were wrong. We were so wrong. Please give us the cure. We'll give you anything. Our entire technological database. Our ships. Our worlds. Just save us." Ambassador Mira Choi sat in the emergency council meeting, watching the transmission. She had aged 10 years in the past month. The woman who once believed in peaceful cooperation now understood the price of naivety. "Do we have a cure?" she asked. Day Kang stood nearby, his military uniform stained with smoke from the ground battles. "Dr. Nari Song can create one. It would take 6 months to produce enough for their entire population. But yes, we could save them if we wanted to." "Then we should," Mira said. "We're not monsters. We don't commit genocide. Don't we?" Hanayun asked quietly. She had witnessed too much in the past month to remain silent. They came here planning to harvest millions of us over decades. They killed 10,000 people in Mumbai just to threaten us. They treated humanity as livestock. If we save them now, what lesson do we teach? That species can prey on others without real consequences. We teach them mercy, Mira insisted. We show them that humans are better than they are. We teach them that humans are weak, Day countered. That we can be pushed to the edge and will still help our enemies. What happens in 50 years when they recover? When some other species hears how Earth forgave the Velkari and decides we're easy prey? The debate raged for hours. Half the council wanted to show mercy, to prove humanity's moral superiority. The other half wanted justice. Wanted the Velkari to pay fully for their crimes. Finally, Day proposed a compromise. We give them a partial cure, he said. Enough to save some of their population. But not all. We let their empire collapse completely, and we make them sign a treaty that every species in the galaxy will know about. The Velkari will admit what they did. They will pay reparations for centuries. And they will serve as a warning. A warning to whom? Mira asked. To everyone, Day said coldly. To every species that looks at Earth and thinks we're primitive. To every alien civilization that considers us useful resources. We show them all what happens when you underestimate humans. The vote was close, but Day's proposal won. Narration created a cure. But only enough to save 20% of the Velkari population. The rest would die slowly, their empire crumbling around them. The treaty signing happened on neutral ground, a space station built by a third species who wanted to witness this moment. The Velkari representative could barely stand, weak from illness. Her species dying even as she negotiated. We agree to your terms, she said, her voice breaking. We will confess our crimes to the galaxy. We will pay reparations from what little we have left. We will tell everyone what we did and what it cost us. Just please, save whoever you can. Day Kang handed her the cure personally. Your empire took 2 years to reduce humanity to livestock in secret. Our response took 3 weeks and destroyed you openly. Remember that. Make sure every Velkari who survives remembers. You judged us by our technology and found us primitive. You should have judged us by our memory. Your memory? The Velkari asked weakly. Humans never forget, Day said. Humans never forgive. And humans never, ever make good livestock. The cure saved approximately 2 billion Velkari out of their original population of 10 billion. Their empire, which had ruled dozens of star systems, collapsed. The survivors retreated to their homeworld. Broken and humble. Spending their days warning others about the terrible cost of their arrogance. Earth changed too. The easy days were gone. Without Velkari technology, some diseases returned. Climate change became a problem again. Hunger reappeared in poor regions. But humanity faced these challenges differently now. They had learned what dependence on alien gifts cost. We'll solve our problems ourselves, became the new motto. Earth poured resources into science, into space exploration, into building genuine human technology, rather than copying alien designs. Within 10 years, humanity had colonies on Mars and Europa. Within 20, human ships explored nearby star systems. Other alien species watched nervously. They had assumed humans were weak, backward, easily exploited. The Velkari had proven that assumption wrong, and they paid for it with their empire. Now Earth was expanding, building weapons, making itself strong. First contact with other species became very different. When the Dracon Collective sent ambassadors to Earth, offering trade and friendship, they were polite but clearly afraid. We come in peace, their representative said carefully. We offer only fair exchange, equal partnership. Day Kang, now Supreme Commander of Earth Defense, listened to their presentation. Then he asked one question. Do you use other species for resources? Do you harvest anyone? No, the Dracon said quickly. Never. We believe all sapient life has value. Good, Day said. Then we can talk. But understand this. Earth engages with aliens as equals or not at all. We don't want shepherds. We don't want guides. We don't want saviors. We want partners, or we want to be left alone. Do you understand? Yes, the Dracon said. Perfectly. The Treaty of Earth became famous across the galaxy. Other species studied it, learning about the small blue planet that destroyed an ancient empire in weeks. They learned about human stubbornness, human rage, human refusal to accept subjugation. Some species thought humans were dangerous, unstable, too aggressive. Others thought humans were exactly the allies they needed against genuinely predatory civilizations. But everyone agreed on one thing. Earth was not to be underestimated. Ari Han, a young historian, spent decades documenting the war. She interviewed survivors, studied the evidence, tried to understand the moment when everything changed. Her book became required reading in schools across Earth and was translated into dozens of alien languages. In her conclusion, she wrote, "The Velkari came to Earth believing they were doing us a favor. They thought we would be grateful for their medicine, their technology, their guidance. They saw us as children who needed help. They were correct about one thing: we were children. But they forgot that even children have teeth. The Velkari made 3 fatal mistakes. First, they assumed their age and technology made them superior. Second, they believed humanity would value comfort over freedom. Third, they treated us as livestock without realizing that livestock sometimes fights back. Now Earth stands among the stars, not as victims or children, but as equals. We carry the memory of what was done to us. We carry the knowledge of what we did in response. And we carry a message for every species in the galaxy. Judge us however you want. Call us primitive, aggressive, dangerous. Just remember what happened to the last species that tried to farm us. 50 years after the war, Dai Kang stood on Mars, watching Earth rise above the red horizon. He was old now, his hair white, his body tired, but his eyes still carried that fierce determination that had saved humanity. Hana Yun stood beside him. She had never forgiven herself for creating the virus, even though she knew it was necessary. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked. "I think we did the only thing," Dai replied. "The Velkari gave us a choice. Be slaves or fight. We fought. Was it right? I don't know. But it was human. And that's enough. The galaxy fears us now." "Good," Dai said. "Better to be feared than farmed. Better to stand alone than kneel together." "But we're not alone," Hana said. "We have allies now. Species that respect us." "Because they saw what we did to the Velkari," Dai said. "Because they understand that humanity will burn the galaxy down before we submit." "That's not friendship, Hana. That's pragmatism." "Is that so bad?" Dai smiled. "No. It's honest. I'll take honest fear over dishonest kindness any day." They stood in silence, watching Earth hang in the Martian sky. That small blue planet, where humanity was born, where they had been nearly turned into livestock, where they fought back and won. "What do you think the Velkari survivors tell their children?" Hana asked. "They tell them about Earth," Dai said. "They tell them about the species they tried to harvest. They tell them how 10,000 years of empire died in 3 weeks. And they tell them the most important lesson in the galaxy. I am a. What's that?" "Never underestimate humans," Dai said. "Because humans remember. Humans adapt. And humans will burn everything down to stay free." The Velkari expected appreciation for their gifts. They received retribution for their arrogance. That's the lesson written in their graves. Hana nodded slowly. "And now that lesson protects every human in the galaxy." "Yes," Dai agreed. "We bought our freedom with Velkari blood. We bought our safety with Velkari fear. It's not the story I would have chosen. But it's the story we needed to survive." Earth turned slowly in the Martian sky, blue and beautiful and deadly, a planet of predators who would never be prey again. The Velkari had come offering gifts, expecting gratitude. They received something far more human: fury, vengeance, and the absolute refusal to be anything less than equal. The galaxy learned. The galaxy remembered. And every species that looked toward that small blue planet understood one simple truth: Earth forgave nothing, Earth forgot nothing, and Earth bowed to no one.